there's a famous futurist named Marshall McLuhan. I'm sure you've heard of his stuff, and he has a concept called the medium is the message. And if anybody is familiar with this or not, I'll try to briefly explain it. And he basically says every time you introduce a new medium, it's actually the message embodied in that medium. And yet our first version is to copy the old medium. So like you said, when we went from radio to television, we tried to kind of reproduce that old media on this new medium. And we said, okay, television is going to be like movies in your house. Now, fast forward 20 years and television became a member of the family on 24 hours a day, our news source, our fun source. You know, we make love to the television, we cry to the television. In The Simpsons, Maggie Simpson is hugging the television, right? Because it's a new medium. Now, fast forward to the internet, we looked at YouTube and it's like, oh, YouTube is just videos online. Wrong, right? 10 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, and that interactivity literally changed the course of my life because it was, like you said, social media, engagement, direct feedback. It was definitely not movies, TV on demand. It was like a whole nother social structure, like you said. And the medium, again, is the message. Look at the medium as opposed to the message itself. Now, fast forward to Bitcoin or blockchain, value transfer. This is a whole new medium. And like you said, what we traditionally do as humans is we take the old version and stick it on that. So like you said, borrowing and lending, which we've been doing since the Medici age, now we stick it on the blockchain. And like you said, that's what we do as humans. But the future lies in some iteration that we can't even conceive of. And we see little snippets of that with the NFT explosions, right? And these other things where we're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that there was value there. And then you see it. But just curious, your thoughts on that concept of the medium. And then it's hard for people to kind of understand that, right? It's quite a philosophical concept.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when the internet came out, the network is the computer. Um, yeah, I don't have much more thoughts of that. I'm just like sitting on the sidelines going, what's next? Because this is really interesting stuff. And you don't know how it works. Like it's very hard to sit here and think where we're going to go in the next 10 years. Like, because really it's an exploration of this medium, right? And I mean, I was around from the web age going into social media, and we were like building, initially I would write newsletters back home when I was traveling, and I was like, oh, I'll build a website so that, like I was actually like sending it from a little Palm Pilot, and it would upload and send to my friends, and then later I built a website that would upload it to the website, and the website would relay it to friends, and it would publish it on the website, and then that was actually the first form of a blog. And we didn't know there were blogs at the time. Everyone's creating home pages, and then we started automating it, and then we started connecting these blogs together and making comments on each other's blogs, and that was like the first stage of social media. Then along came, it was the next step, right, to do a MySpace and a Facebook, which was amalgamated in one spot. And I think that progression applies to Bitcoin itself, right? It's or crypto, we should say. We build stuff, and then we try experiments, and then it's a conversation, like it's a conversation between the developers that are building the stuff and the guys that are using it. And the innovation is not just some smart team that decides they're going to build some sort of app and then they get traction or not. It's usually they build something, it gets traction, and then there's a conversation with its user base, and then a behavioral pattern happens, which we never knew before because we never talked on this medium and we're exploring it. And then, the next thing jumps along, and it's very sort of iterative. And, I guess it's a conversation. It's a conversation with technology and the different parts of the user base,
I,
which, yeah.
I like that word, a conversation. And maybe that's what Web 3.0 is. When people think about Web 2.0, there's that famous Steve Jobs line where they say, where he said, I think the customer will know what they want when I give it to them, right? There was like,
Right.
these, leaders that would actually create the product and then deliver it, and then the consumers would know they want it. I feel like that's a little bit of the Web old 2.0 world, where you had, a few highly capitalized companies that owned all the value that, to a certain extent would choose what they're going to develop. Whereas with Web 3.0, like you said, I mean, it's much more of a conversation. I've had people like Stanley Kulichev here in my studio, and I'm like, Stanley, what's next for Aave? And he's like, Brian, I don't know. My job is to come to work every day and build the best code possible so my community uses it in a creative way that I don't even know what they're going to do with it. I'm not, the Steve Jobs guy telling where this is going to go. I'm here, like you said, almost having a conversation. And I feel like that's the future of 3.0. I don't know if everyone's going to be comfortable embracing that, because it's not what we've been doing the last couple of hundred years in capitalism, but it feels like that's where we're going.
Well, I can understand Steve Jobs thing with like, that's predicated on the technology to do this, to deliver, say, an iPhone is really, really quite hard. And the consumers don't know that what is possible is or what isn't. So usually there's that, I'll deliver this groundbreaking thing, and then you'll know you want it. But once you get over that, right, say an iPhone comes out and then there's this whole platform which people can have that conversation and build apps and do that. And Bitcoin's the same. Like, it took Satoshi Nakamoto to figure out we can put this money online. And then now the conversation's happening, and like the conversation bit's the most exciting bit, right? That's the world changing bit, that like, you get non-obvious answers that absolutely change the world. Beyond just like, here's a peer-to-peer payment system that, and its outset is really just repeating what we've got in the physical world, but putting it into the digital world. It's kind of that copy.